Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we're diving straight into an incredibly powerful phenomenon today, one that leaves so many people feeling confused, heartbroken, and honestly completely trapped. We're going to take a really close look at those relationships that feel overwhelmingly intense. You know, the ones where the highs are just euphoric, but the lows are absolutely devastating.
I know they hurt me, but I still love them. I just can't leave. If you've ever said those words, let me tell you right now, you are not alone, and more importantly, you are not weak. What's actually happening is your nervous system might be caught in a deeply misunderstood psychological trap. It's a dynamic that looks and feels like this epic, sweeping love, but biologically, it operates exactly like a chemical addiction. It's kind of like an invisible prison where your own brain chemistry is literally working against your conscious desire to just be safe.
So, here's what we're covering today. First, the illusion of love. Second, the cortisol-oxytocin hijack. Third, the 5 signs of trauma bonding. Fourth, we'll compare a trauma bond to true love. And finally, the exact steps to break free. We've got a ton of fascinating ground to cover, so let's jump right in.
Part 1. The illusion of love. Is it passion or is it panic? We're going to pull back the curtain on this idea that intense, chaotic relationship chemistry is always a sign of genuine connection. Because for a lot of people, that intense feeling is actually a major, blaring warning sign.
See, a lot of folks think a trauma bond means bonding with someone over a shared history of, say, childhood trauma. But it's not. It's actually this super intense attachment created right in the present moment, when a partner alternates between severely hurting you and deeply nurturing you. It's a roller coaster, a cycle of tension and conflict, immediately followed by a reconciliation phase. That's when they apologize, turn on the charm, and just shower you with affection. This whiplash creates exactly what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement.
Moving to part 2, the cortisol-oxytocin hijack. This is your brain on intermittent reinforcement. Now, the hard clinical science here is absolutely fascinating, and it proves you aren't weak and you aren't crazy. Your biology is literally being hijacked. So let's take a look under the hood at the actual neurochemistry.
Intermittent reinforcement triggers this vicious 3-step cycle inside your body. First, there's the threat. Your partner introduces sudden anger, or maybe the silent treatment, or just a massive explosion. Boom, your cortisol, that's your stress hormone, spikes off the charts, causing sheer panic. Step 2 is the panic phase. To avoid emotional abandonment, you frantically scramble to please them or fix the problem. And in step 3, the love bomb. Once you finally appease them, they reward you with sudden affection. This floods your brain with oxytocin and dopamine, which creates a really profound sense of relief.
And guys, the impact of that relief is staggering. When they finally validate you again, your brain experiences a massive 113% spike in oxytocin. Just think about that. And this is intimately tied to dopamine, which basically whispers to your brain, hey, whatever I just did to survive, do it again. You are literally being chemically bonded to them. You're being programmed to constantly cater to their anger, just so you can feel a fleeting moment of safety.
So the crucial takeaway here is that this overwhelming feeling of, I cannot live without them, yeah, that isn't romance. It is straight-up chemical withdrawal caused by extreme highs and devastating lows. You aren't being swept away by love. Instead, your nervous system is in a state of chronic dysregulation. Your body is just recognizing a familiar threat pattern, constantly scanning to figure out if you're safe, based entirely on someone else's totally volatile mood.
Part 3, 5 signs of trauma bonding and how to recognize the external symptoms. Let's pivot from what's happening inside your internal chemistry to the external behaviors and see how this all actually plays out in real life.
Okay, so here are the 5 major signs. Sign 1, they are the cause and the cure of your pain. Sign 2, you're afraid to be honest. Sign 3, you take all the responsibility. Sign 4, the double standard. And sign 5, it feels impossible to leave. If you're minimizing their behavior, if you're afraid to speak up, or if you're taking all the responsibility just to keep the peace, you might be stuck. You end up staying quiet because you know that setting even a tiny boundary will spark an explosive fight. So you take on all the emotional labor just to survive.
Let's zoom in on that double standard for a second. Ask yourself, what would happen if you treated them the exact same way they treat you? If matching their energy, their interruptions, their dismissiveness, or their insults would cause a total meltdown on their end, well, there is zero equality in your relationship. A trauma bond totally relies on this power imbalance, where one person holds all the cards and you're just expected to submit to their constant volatility. And you know, this perfectly illustrates the ultimate mind-bender of a trauma bond. You view them as the cause of your pain, but also the potential source of your healing.
You instinctively run to the exact person who just broke your heart, desperately hoping they're going to be the one to fix it. Because of that chemical cycle we talked about earlier, your brain literally views their validation as the one and only cure to the panic that they themselves created. Wild, right?
Moving on to part 4, trauma bond versus true love. It's time to establish a healthy baseline. We really need to draw a hard line here to contrast this chaotic dynamic with what healthy, secure love actually looks and feels like. Because, honestly, if you've been stuck in this cycle, you might not even know what a normal baseline feels like anymore.
Let's look at this comparison, because it really highlights everything. On one side, a trauma bond demands hypervigilance. You're constantly walking on eggshells, monitoring their face to see if you're safe. It's intense, it's chaotic, and it leaves you completely exhausted with a constant fear of punishment. But secure love, it provides a calm nervous system and internal safety. It's energizing, steady, and consistent. You have the freedom to actually express your needs. Your safety comes from mutual respect, not from frantically managing someone else's unpredictable reactions.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. Contempt is the #1 indicator of a toxic relationship. Look, all couples have conflict. That's just life. But a relationship becomes destructive the minute contempt enters the room. Contempt is when someone treats your pain with mockery, disgust, or dismissal. It literally dehumanizes you. You simply cannot build a secure attachment with someone who fundamentally doesn't respect your humanity or who strips you of your dignity the second they get angry. Finally, part 5, steps to break free and rewiring your nervous system. Because recognizing the trap, that's really only the first step. Breaking a trauma bond isn't just about making a conscious decision to leave. It's about doing the hard work to systematically rewire your nervous system. You cannot break a trauma bond while you're still swimming in the chaos. So your absolute first step is creating physical and emotional distance. You have to step away from the source of that intermittent reinforcement. Next, stop isolating yourself. Abusers often intentionally isolate you to control the narrative, right? So your countermeasure is to end that isolation, diversify your oxytocin sources, and start reconnecting with your own identity and the friends you probably sacrificed just to keep the peace.
And here is the actual biological formula for healing. Step 1, connect with calm, secure people. Step 2, experience safe, reciprocal oxytocin release. And Step 3, stimulate GABA to suppress your cortisol. When you interact with friends, family, or support groups who don't run hot and cold, your brain gets these steady, healthy doses of oxytocin. That natural release stimulates a neurotransmitter called GABA, which then actively suppresses those chronic cortisol levels. You are quite literally using safe connections to chemically repair the stress damage. You really need to start treating healthy relationships as your daily medicine. Seriously. You have to view safe, steady, and, let's be honest, sometimes even boring relationships as your medication. If you've been trauma bonded, a calm nervous system might initially feel terribly boring, simply because you're addicted to the chaos. But interacting with regulated people proves to your subconscious that genuine love doesn't require a constant performance.
You deserve a love that brings peace to your soul, not chaos to your life. Remember, if you recognized yourself at all during this explainer, you are not broken. Okay? You are simply running a survival program that got installed under extreme duress. You're just learning how to exit survival mode. You absolutely deserve a dynamic that builds you up, respects your boundaries, and brings genuine peace to your life.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. Are you going to stay in the intensity and call it love, or choose the calm and call it healing? True love frees you from fear. It never relies on it. What are you going to choose for your nervous system tomorrow? Will you stay addicted to the roller coaster, or will you take that brave first step toward the calm? Thanks so much for exploring this incredibly important topic with me today.